Imagine this, man. It's Friday, you just got off work, you're stoked to go hit the disc golf course, you got on your best outfit, okay? You're ready to tear it up. You go to the first hole. No warm up, alright? You just got done sitting down at work all day long. Your back's tight, your glutes are tight, your hips are tight. You go to throw that first disc, no warm up. Boom, throw your back out, okay? Could have happened to your elbow, could have happened to your shoulder, could have happened to your wrist too. A lot of things could go wrong if you throw without any warm-ups. This is what you need to do to make sure that doesn't happen. I'm a certified personal trainer, and I make a living making sure my clients are warmed up and stretched out appropriately. If you've played disc golf for really any period of time, you probably know somebody that's thrown their back out or has shoulder pain or tendonitis in their elbow or wrist. Now, I want to help you guys not experience any of those things, be able to throw a forehand and backhand further without any pain, and just in general have better performance and feel your best while doing it. You want to start by warming up your legs. One of my favorite leg warm-ups is actually this little bit of a wide lunge here. I like to alternate my weight back and forth, stretch out the inside of my leg, and get a little bit of a warm-up for my glutes, hamstrings, and quads. Then I move over to arm swings so that I can warm up my shoulders. I do front and back, and I alternate which arms over and which arms under. I do about 10 of these before I switch over to trunk twists. On the trunk twist, I want to try and turn as far as I can in each direction, keep my feet planted so that I can get a whole hip rotation. I also turn my head and look in the direction that I'm turning so that I can get the most amount of rotation out of my spine. I finish up with one more exercise for my shoulders so that I can warm up all the muscles responsible for rotating my shoulder forward and backward. This is especially important if you're going to be throwing tomahawks or rollers, because these are small muscles that require a good amount of warming up before you put that much torque on them. After I finish my dynamic stretches, I move over to a couple of static stretches before I would start my disc golf round. Start out with some forearm and wrist stretches so that I can get a more fluid flick of the wrist when I release the disc. I do about 10 seconds forward and backward on each wrist. Then I move over into some wide reaches with the same stance as I had when I was doing those lunges at the beginning. I reach for my foot, stretch out my lower back, my hamstring, and my adductors. This is a great stretch for preventing lower back pain during and after your round, as it hits 3 major muscle groups that are responsible for causing a lot of those issues. Then I'll move on to stretching out the front side of my hips. On this one, you want to have a staggered stance, squeeze your glutes a little bit, and then lean back into it as you push your hips forward. That'll stretch out that front side of your hip on the back leg. Then I move over into a quad stretch. If you need some help on this one, you can hold on to something. You want to try and pull your heel to your butt, feel the stretch in your quad. Then I move on to a calf stretch. I keep my left heel on the floor here, and I'm trying to sit my weight back, pushing that knee close to the floor as best I can. I'm looking for a mild amount of discomfort in each of these stretches, no sharp pain. After that, I'll move on to hamstrings. You just put your foot up on something. I use my bed here, but you could use a park bench or anything that's nearby. Those are all the stretches I would do before my round. If I wanted to continue to improve my game and decrease my chance of injury, I would continue to do a couple of stretches at home. This is one of my favorite stretches. It's called a thoracic spine extension. Basically, you want to lay in an X and then keep both feet on the floor and try and bring your shoulder down to the floor on the opposite side. After this stretch, I would move into stretching out my hip flexors. You want to make sure you keep an arch here in your lower back. That keeps your muscles tight against your pelvis so that when you push your hips back, you're getting the best stretch that you can. You don't want to round your lower back too much. You want to try and keep that little bit of an arch. Then I would move on to stretching my glutes here. I want to try and keep my front leg about 90 degrees as I try and sit my hips back as far as I can, stretching out the right side glute in this picture. From here, I'd move on to stretching out my quads. I'm going to put both knees here on the floor and then sit back onto my feet. This stretch can be a little intense, so you're going to want to ease into it for your first time, and potentially just sitting down on your feet is going to be enough without leaning back. Here, I'm going to stretch out my hamstrings. I want to try and keep my back as flat as I can and not just arch forward. That's going to give me the best stretch there on the back side of my leg. This last stretch here is for your shoulders. Typically, a lot of people are tight on the back side of their shoulder and in their rotator cuff. This is going to help you stretch out. You want to stack your shoulders and keep your shoulder on the floor as you move your forearm and your hand as close as you can to the floor. These are small muscles, so don't crank it too much. I would do these last few stretches every day at home and the warm-ups before every round.